जय श्री राधे। सब वैष्णवों को जय श्री कृष्णा। आज today 252 Vaishnavas day 117 Varta 93 continued from yesterday, and we will go into 94. When he woke up in the morning, the renunciate said, "I will go now." But the other Vaishnav said, "How can I let you go? Leave when you are hungry. Please stay until the Rajbhog Arti, take prasad and then go if you wish." The renunciate Vaishnav stayed for the Arti and partook of prasad. He said, "I felt very happy in your home. I am feeling very happy. Please ask anything you wish from me." The Brahmin Vaishnava replied, "By the blessings of Sri Gosaiji, I have everything that I could possibly need. My wife and son are happily doing the Lord's Seva. I need nothing else." The renunciate Vaishnava insisted that he should give something. The Brahmin Vaishnava asked his wife and son what he should do, since the other Vaishnava was insistent. He is Sri Gosaiji's disciple, therefore since he has made up his mind, he will definitely wish to give something. We need nothing. And anyway, it is not within a Vaishnava rules of conduct to ask for anything. The wife piped up, "Do not ask for anything for yourself. The king of this village has grown old. He has not been able to bear a son. We have lived happily during his reign. When he eventually dies, who knows what kind of king will reign? Therefore ask for a son for the king." The Brahmin went to the renunciate and said, "We do not need anything, but it would be very nice if the king of this village were to have a son." The renunciate replied, "Very well, he will have not just one, but 4 sons. The renunciate then took his leave and left that place. The Brahmin went to the king, taking Mahaprasad with him, and gave the king a blessing. He said, "O king, congratulations, you will have 4 sons. The king just laughed. "I will be dead before too long. My teeth have already fallen out, and you tell me I shall have 4 sons? The Brahmin told him, "Have faith. One Vaishnava has predicted this. It will come true for sure." The king said, "Oh, okay then. If this happens, then it is okay by me." The Brahmin blessed him and came home. Soon all the 4 queens fell pregnant. The king remarked that the Brahmin's words seemed to have been the truth. After some time, 4 sons were born. The king was overjoyed. Musical instruments and drums began to play at his every doorway. The Shiva devotee Brahmin asked, "Why is music being played at the king's door? What has happened?" Everyone told him, "The king has 4 sons, and so he is very happy, and he is having the music played." The Brahmin thought to himself, "Shivji was not able to promise a son. Neither did Lord Vishnu. My promise to the king turned out to be empty, and so I will now take my life." He took a sword and went to Shivji's temple. He said, "Now I am going to die in your name. I was not able to keep my word to the king." He put the sword to his throat and was just about to slit it when Shivji came there and caught hold of his hand, saying, "O Brahmin, what are you doing? You are again trying to die." The Brahmin replied, "The king was not fated to have a son, but now he has 4. How did this come about?" Shivji was surprised and said, "I will go to Vishnu and ask him." Shivji approached Lord Vishnu and supplicated, "You said that the king could not have a son. Now he has 4. What is the reason for this?" Vishnu replied, "The king was not fated to have a son, and now you ask me how it is he has 4 sons? Could it be that a Vaishnava has blessed him?" After hearing this, Shivaji came back to the Brahmin and said, "Ask the king how he managed to have 4 sons at one go." The Brahmin came to the king and asked him how he managed to beget 4 sons. "Shivji told me that you would not be able to. Even Lord Vishnu would not facilitate. So how did you manage?" The king replied, "I do not know. Some Vaishnavas stated that I would," and his words came true. The Shivji devotee Brahmin asked the king to call the Vaishnava there. The king said to the Brahmin Vaishnava, "O Vaishnava, you said that I would beget a son, and now I have 4. How did this come about?" The Brahmin Vaishnava filled him in. "O king, one of Sri Gosaiji's disciples and my godbrother, a renunciate, was staying at my house. He had been hungry for 3 days. I served him a little bit, and he, being very pleased, told me to ask a boon of him. I asked him to make it so the king had a son. He replied that the king would have not just 1, but 4 sons. Sri Gosaiji's sevaks never say anything that is not true." The king was surprised to hear all this. The Shiva devotee Brahmin went to Shivji and told him the king had a son as the result of a blessing given by one of Sri Gosaiji's disciples. Shivji went to see Lord Vishnu and repeated the same. Vishnu remarked, "That Vaishnava has been most graceful to me. If he had said that the Lord will appear to you, then I would have had to appear there before him. There is no surprise at all that the sons were born." Shivji came back and recounted all this to this devotee Brahmin. If that Vaishnava had ordered Vishnu to appear there and then to the king, then he would have had to do that. It is no surprise at all that he was able to effect the birth of the sons. That Brahmin reported to the king, "Even Vishnu would have had to manifest himself had the Vaishnava so offered. It is no surprise that he was able to grant you the birth of these 4 sons. Bhav Prakash. A question arises here. Here Shivji is a Vaishnav himself. He could also have granted the sons to the king. Why did he not then? Here it is said that Shivji follows the path of lawful devotion, and therefore he must follow the rules in whatever he does. He knew that it had not been written in the king's fate to beget sons, so he had to keep quiet. Shivji then went to Vishnu, but in his partial manifestation as a Gunavatar, having the qualities of the Lord but not the total power, and so he also held back. The renunciate Vaishnava was the devotee in the path of grace, the full and complete Supreme Lord, who can do not, or do otherwise, lived in that Vaishnava's heart. Therefore he had such a supernatural ability and could grant any and anything according to his wish. Note, in the original text, Vishnu has been referred to by Shivji as Sri Thakurji. We have used the term Vishnu to avoid confusion between the concept of the Gunavatar Vishnu and Purushottam Sri Thakurji, whose devotee, having Sri Thakurji in his heart, was able to grant what even Vishnu could not. Part 1 continued. The king called the Vaishnava to him and said, "Please help me to become a disciple of Sri Gosaiji." The Vaishnava wrote a letter to Sri Gosaiji to request this. "O Maharaj, please come here soon." Sri Gosaiji came as soon as he could to that king's village. The king, the Brahmin devotee of Shiva, of Shivji, and the whole village population became his disciples. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story is that one should have faith in the words of true Vaishnavas. There is nothing higher than a Vaishnava, and through their auspices everything is possible and can be perfected. Thus concludes Varta 93, the story of the Vaishnava with 3 water pots, who was an accomplished Vaishnava and the recipient of Sri Gosaiji's great grace. There is no end to his tale. Continuing now with Varta 94, the story of Paramananda Soni, who lived in Ardel. This is a devotee of Rajasi disposition. His transcendental form has already been mentioned in the 84 Vaishnavanki Varta. In the eternal Leela, his name is Chandrika, whose bodily effulgence is like the moon. Sri Chandravaliji's form is that of countless moons, and this Chandrika is her very close Sakhi. She manifests from Nagavelika and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. Part 1. Some time before, Paramananda Soni had received initiation with the Lord's name from Sri Gosaiji. He was a most graced and accomplished Vaishnava. He loved to read the literature of the path and especially the Sri Subodhiniji. When Sri Gosaiji used to recite from these scriptures, he would ask questions, listen to the answers and inquire even more whilst listening to whatever was said. Paramananda Soni held his Guru's teachings in his heart. Paramananda Soni was responsible for making all the gold for Sri Gosaiji. His attitude was, Sri Gosaiji is the Lord himself and is also my Guru. Therefore I shall make sure that this gold does not touch my body and not even a tiny piece would be dropped. Thus he worked very, very carefully. Sri Gosaiji offered to pay for his labour and craftsmanship, saying that he should accept because he had a family to look after. Paramananda Soni would always reply, "O great Maharaj, I can get paid for my work in many other places, but through your grace alone my whole life is perfected. I lack nothing, and your grace is all I need." Saying this, he would accept no payment. Sri Gosaiji would reply, "Do as you wish." Paramananda Soni said, "O great Maharaj, your grace is my life. With your grace, my life is bliss. I have no desire for anything else in my heart. Your grace is the most important thing to me. If you wish to give me something, then let it be this, that you always remain pleased with me." Indeed, Sri Gosaiji was always pleased with him. He graced him by explaining the inner meanings of the literature of the Path of Grace, including Sri Subodhini. With Sri Gosaiji's great blessings, the Lord's pastimes became firmly established in Paramananda Soni's heart. He was thus always totally immersed in divine bliss. Whenever any Vaishnava would ask him about the meaning of his discourses, Sri Gosaiji would tell them to ask Paramananda Soni, who would then give them the answers to the questions that they came to him with. Indeed, Paramananda Soni was the recipient of Sri Gosaiji's great grace and very accomplished. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story here is that a Vaishnava should never covet nor accept any wealth for the Lord or their Guru. They should serve the Guru with no expectation of reward and with a devotional mood. Then the Guru will be pleased. In this way, the principles of the path will become established in their heart. Tomorrow we will continue with part 2 of the Varta 94 of Paramananda Soni. Aaj ke Anand ki jai. Sab Vaishnavan ko sadar. Sanamra Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.